So every year on social media, at some point, I will say Xmas, and people get all
bothered about it.
Yeah, because they're like, keep Christ in Christmas. If you're depressed about how much money you spend on gifts this holiday, just think of Mr. and Mrs. Duggar buying all their kids gifts.
And now all the grandkids, if they want to do that for the grandkids.
The grandkids.
They're so sweet about how they give gifts. I actually started listening to Christmas music a little too early. So there's some songs.
Are you burned out?
I'm not burned out of
Ginger.
Christmas music. I'm just burned out of certain playlists already.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode, and it's our Christmas episode.
Let's go.
And here's the thing, Ginge. You and I have swapped places in an interesting way, which I don't think people can see, even if they're watching. You are only wearing socks, and I'm wearing shoes.
I don't understand how this has happened.
For the first time. I'm always just wearing socks, and you're always wearing shoes.
I was going to wear shoes, but I'm going to probably put on shoes in a few minutes. Or like my house shoes at least, I have like little Nike slides over there, but I thought that they looked weird with no shows in the slides. So I just kicked the slides off, but I like to have something on my feet, even if it's like house shoes or like slippers or slides or something. I don't know. I like how, your idea of like no shoes in the house, because I feel like it is less germs, but I still have to have something on my feet.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Hey, so it's Christmas, and we want to talk about keeping Christ in Christmas. Do you remember the kerfuffle some years ago about people taking Christ out of Christmas or something? And
it was because of the Xmas thing. It was
is that why it was?
Well, I remember it being a thing. Like even my family and friends, they were like, there was a time where I think it was a big deal in our settings where Christians were like, oh my goodness, they're saying Xmas instead of Christmas. And some of that, I think that you're going to break that down for us here. But I think that some of that was actually legit, because there was a time where, it switched to Happy Holidays instead of Merry Christmas. Like,
oh, sure.
Because people didn't want to say Christmas. Right. Or they would say Xmas, and they didn't realize they were still saying, I'm going to let you break it down. Talking about Christ.
Keeping Christ in Christmas is a good conversation. And that's what we want to get into today, because there are ways to take Christ out of Christmas.
Yeah.
But it's not by saying Xmas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because this is
what does X mean? Because I always forget. But you told me, because you kept writing.
Well, JX for Jesus Christ.
You kept writing like X for like Christians, like when in like your sermon notes.
Yeah, X-I-A-N-S.
I was like, why are you doing that? And then you explained it to me. It was like something you learned in seminary, maybe?
Well, in the Greek, it's the first letter of the Greek word Christos, which is Messiah, is a chi, which in the Greek is an X.
Interesting.
And so Christians for centuries, from the first century, would put an X as symbolic of Messiah, Christ. So shorthand, if you don't want to write out in your notes, or if you're, whatever, you could put JX, means Jesus Christ. So it's just shorthand. So every year on social media, at some point, I will say Xmas, and people get all
bothered about it.
Yeah, because they're like, keep Christ in Christmas. And so, that's just a funny little note about history, is you're not taking Christ out of Christmas by saying Xmas, because X is symbolic of Christ. Just like kind of the fish, is like symbolic of Christians. Gotcha. And it's just shorthand. And so that's not the issue. But there is a real issue about taking Christ out of Christmas and forgetting the reason for the season, as people say.
For sure. I think that can happen all over. We see it like where the focus quickly just shifts to like all the gifts you're going to get and all the people you're going to be around, and you just completely materialize the holiday. And I think that's the danger that we all face, is in our priorities. And I say that because like it's so easy for all of us to shift there. I do that too. But then whenever you're able to sit down and think about what Christmas is actually about and like refocus on what actually matters, right, it's so important to do that, especially for kids. Because I think that the holiday, there's a certain sense of like, you get gifts, you do all these things, but why? Like we have to take the time to tell our kids why we're doing all of this and who it's for.
Well, we forget the why behind a lot of stuff we do quite often. I mean, if you even just think about, it is 2024 AD, even our calendar system has to do with Christ.
Yeah.
And we just assume things sometimes when we forget, the Christmas season is all about the incarnation of Jesus. And when we lose sight of that, it can quickly become a very selfish season where
So
you're just focused on what you're getting.
Practically though, like how do we not forget, and how do we keep Christ at the center of our holiday and at the center of Christmas?
Well, the other day I gave a little devotional to college students on Christmas before everybody left for break, because everybody's finishing their finals and they're zooming off to celebrate and have a month off with their family. And so I think Christmas, there's 3 reminders that are super helpful. I mean, we could think of many more actually, but the 3 I just shared was allow this time to remind you of generosity, allow this time to remind you of gratitude, and allow this time to remind you of grace. And it all boils down to, like, the reality of the incarnation is it begins with a gift, right? For God so loved the world that he gave his only son. And so even in the gifts of Christmas season, we give a ton of gifts.
Yeah.
And that's important. I really like gift giving. And Jesus said it's more blessed to give than to receive. And so there's nothing wrong with that. But I think we should enjoy it. The way to keep Christ in Christmas, even in giving gifts, is to remember that in you giving that flannel shirt to your dad, or in you giving that little pony, stick to your daughter to run around the house with, it's reflective of the greatest gift that's been given to us, which was the gift given by God when he gave his son.
I love that. Yeah. That is such a good reminder. And I think that I don't know if you had this in your setting, but I know for a while, for sure in our church circles and friend groups or whatever growing up, there were times where people would say, okay, well, because we want to keep Christ in Christmas, we need to be careful that we don't take on any pagan holiday rituals, like a tree. So the tree, I guess, was a pagan thing, apparently, in some people's mind, where maybe the ancient, people who are not following Christ, they would like cut down a tree and use it.
Well, they take that from Jeremiah 10, where Jeremiah calls out the idol worshipers, saying
that's what it was. I cannot remember. Yeah, maybe that was it.
But it wasn't. It was not a Christmas tree.
I couldn't remember why. I couldn't remember why they said that. But there were like other things too that could quickly become pagan, or even the holiday being on a certain day, because they were like, well, we cannot say what day exactly Christ was born.
Right.
So why would we say this is his birthday and tell our kids that? Yeah. So I think that it's interesting as Christians, I would look at it and say, okay, well, because at least the world's acknowledging the birth of Christ, and you go into any secular store, any place that you're shopping, and you will hear them singing about Christ's birth.
Isn't that cool?
And quoting scripture, even in song, when they're probably not even thinking about it, and it's really sweet that is something that the whole world stops and we celebrate, even if they're not like worshiping Christ.
Yeah. And I think as Christians, we should take advantage of that and say, hey, we have the name of the Messiah is at the forefront of people's minds. And let's not be sticklers, and let's not retreat from that and say, oh, you're not celebrating it the exact way we think or whatever. We should go, great, there's a Christ consciousness right now. Oh, yeah.
Let's take advantage of it. Yeah, for sure. And like that is a time when many people will step foot in church too. And so
big time.
Just like use it. Share the gospel.
What do they call Christians who only go on Christmas and Easter? Creaster, is it?
Oh, I don't know.
There's a term.
I haven't heard that term.
Where it's like, I'm a Creaster. I don't know if it's Creaster, but it's a Christmas and Easter attendee of church. But as Christians, we can be real sticks in the mud sometimes and think like, well, you're not doing this right, or you're not doing this. Hold on a second. You're telling me that somebody who never goes to church is going to come with you to a Christmas Eve service? Mm-hmm. Awesome. What do they get to see there? Well, they hopefully get to hear a beautiful gospel message, and hopefully they get to be around Christians who love one another and will extend love to them and be really warmed and desirable of that and go, I like this. You know, be something that people want to see and be a part of. So we don't want to be sticks in the mud. I will remember, or I always remember walking through Penn Station in New York City and hearing like Mary Did You Know or Angels We Have Heard on High.
Wow. Yeah.
And you're thinking,
That's
wow,
crazy.
this is cool. Like everybody's singing it and got it in their
Yeah.
mind. Even if they don't know what they're singing or what's going on in their mind, the lyrics of some of those songs are profoundly theological and really beautiful, talking about the atoning life, works, and death of Christ. So it's kind of cool.
It is amazing. I love it. Christmas is like, I actually started listening to Christmas music a little too early. So there's some songs.
Are you burned out?
I'm not burned out of
Ginger.
Christmas music. I'm just burned out of certain playlists already. Because I had like, it's whatever the Apple playlist is.
Holiday Essentials. But yeah, it's the music, if you start too early. See, that's why I think there's something to be said for not starting before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that's kind of true. I think that this year I was like, okay, well, we need to decorate early. We need to do all these things early because it just felt like the time. But when you start listening too early, certain playlists are going to be too much for you.
Yeah. You need to mix it up. You got to prepare and plan and have a variety of playlists.
There was somebody at our church, I cannot remember who it was now, but they have multiple playlists that they prepare in advance in like November.
Oh, really?
And it was one of the girls from our church. She was sitting outside of our church, and I was like, what are you doing? This was like last year. She was preparing her playlists, and she was literally like cataloging, like, this is chill Christmas. And it was her own like things on Spotify or something. I don't know if you can do that, categorize them. But it was like tons of songs. So maybe that's what I need to do.
Yeah.
Is like message her and ask for all of her playlists. Because it's like you have a jazz one, you know, like an upbeat one, a Christmas party one. And it's like I get burned out of the same one because I'm not very good with music when it comes to like, I like music, but I'm not when it comes to like curating playlists.
Right.
I don't know where to start.
Yeah.
But you're the music person in our family. Like,
well, I just cheat. I just go to Apple Music and find their holiday essentials.
But then the thing is though, like if you find an artist that you like, you're going to explore that more.
Yeah.
I don't even pay attention to who the artists are. Yeah. I just listen to all their music and I'm like, this is nice, you know?
Yeah.
Gabby Barrett has a really cool.
Oh yeah, she just came.
Well,
out
I say
with
Gabby
album.
Barrett, Fainer, but that's her music is Gabby Barrett, and she has an awesome Christmas album that I really like right now.
Yeah, so them and For King and Country, Little Drummer Boy. That's phenomenal. We went and saw that with Felicity, and then the girls have had that on repeat. Which when you have a 4 and 6-year-old, they do want things ad nauseum.
They want to listen to the same song like 50 times in a row.
And so we have to distract them. So we've been branching into other For King and Country albums too now because I'm going, hey, look at this song too, because otherwise they'll listen to it over and over. But those have been our playlists: Holiday Essentials on Apple, Gabby's new album for Christmas, and then For King and Country, Little Drummer Boy, and that's kept it going. And then in our house here we have a fireplace.
Oh, yes.
And I just went on I don't know, Facebook Marketplace or something, and found a bunch of firewood for sale like down the street. Filled the truck up, and it's like the first thing I do in the morning. I just throw the firewood on.
It's so fun. I think just having that like ambiance, you know, you have like the crackling wood and the smell of it. Like I can start to smell things now, like the fire. So I'm really thankful. Like in pregnancy, my smell, I lost it like 4 years ago. It's been 4 years.
For COVID.
Because it was Evie's birthday in November, the end of November. I had COVID and I lost my smell. And it's been like all this time where I have, like, I'll get whiffs of things here and there, but like in our house, our laundry, anything, like I can't tell if things are clean or not. So if you set something down before, you know, you always do the sniff test with like kids' jackets, you know, you smell it, like, does it smell bad? Do I need to wash this? But that's one thing that like I haven't been able to do for so long. But then now, like in pregnancy, I've been able to smell a little bit more than I could before. Not everything. Like I can't smell a lot of foods. I can't smell a lot of things. But I'm so thankful I can smell the fire because it just is like so nice. It's all diminished, but any little bit
Yeah.
I'm like really thankful.
Yeah. It sets the mood.
It's just a vibe.
Yeah.
It's
it's
perfect.
nice.
It's so nice.
So speaking of, I guess generosity, because that's where we were going with the gifts thing, is I think being generous on Christmas is reflective of God's generosity. And so I want to encourage generosity
Yeah.
because he gave the greatest gift that he could give, which was his son. And so this is a season for us giving gifts too.
Mm-hmm.
And not only receiving gifts, and that's something I think I want to do with the girls, is not just have them excited to get, but be excited to give. And they really do
They
get
are.
excited to
Yeah,
give.
they definitely are. We did the past, I don't know, how many years was it? Was it just 2 years that we gave out gift baskets to our neighbors?
Oh yeah.
And like this
Last couple
year,
years, yeah.
yeah, so this year I went out and like got a whole bunch of stuff. So basically like I'll go to TJ Maxx or like Target or somewhere like that and get little Christmassy looking baskets or buckets, and then you put all like the fun stuff. So like a candle, Christmas cookies, chocolates. I don't even know what else is in there. Lots of things. Kitchen towels that are like Christmassy.
Cinnamon sticks kind of.
Yeah.
vibe.
And tea, Christmas
Yeah.
tea. So like just throw it all in there and then write like a sweet note. You wrote all the notes to our neighbors this year. Wax sealed them with their little Santa stamp. It was really fun. So Felicity gets really into that. And then we deliver those to our neighbors, and it's so fun to see her excitement to give that to them. And I think that, yeah, it's just those little things, or looking for needs in your community. I think that any of those ways you can serve and look to give, especially to like model that for your kids, because there will be times where you're giving and your kids don't get to see it, but like including them in that process is so helpful. Just like when they're young.
Yeah. I would actually look at Christmas as an opportunity to train your kids to give.
Yeah.
And so, especially as Christians, instead of going, let's be a Scrooge and people don't celebrate the way we want to. No, lean into it and go, all right, sweet. Everybody's giving gifts. Let's get to the bottom of why we give gifts. It's because God gives gifts. What does Paul say to the Corinthians? What do you have that you have not received? So the Christian is the one who understands everything that I have is a gift. Every single breath I breathe, every single moment of life is a gift from God. And so we get to reflect that in giving to others. Do you have any, what would you guys do on Christmas morning when you would wake up? Was it like a free-for-all?
No, Christmas morning, I feel like it was kind of a variety actually, but for the most part, we would be up before our parents and then just go into the room and like wake them up. And then typically like they would come downstairs. I'm trying to remember. I feel like it would vary because sometimes like we would read the Christmas story first and then sometimes we would read it later in the day, like at night. But, I mean, it varied from year to year how we would do it, because whenever we were young, a lot of times it would be like, okay, we're just all going to like put our gifts in piles and then open them, all at once. And then there would also be times where we would just decide to do it like one person at a time. And I remember there was like one year where that took forever. I felt like we probably started at like 7 a.m., and it's like, one year I think it was like grandma like opened hers first. We may have gone oldest to youngest or something, which I think is just not ideal. You need the little kids to go first.
Yeah.
But
3-year-olds
I don't know if they
waiting.
made them wait the whole time because it's just a little overwhelming. But I just remember they would either do oldest, youngest, or youngest to oldest. And then we would like sit there and try to like watch everybody open their gifts. But then with nieces and nephews, it was just like a little more difficult to do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It's like it varied, I think, how we would do the gifts and all of that. For years, actually, my family surprisingly did not exchange gifts. Like where you like put all the names in a hat and then like everybody draws one. We would each buy everybody a gift, but it was like from a dollar store, So it was like you're buying like a little like small thoughtful gift. It could be like lip gloss or something like that, from like a dollar store.
Even at a dollar store, if you're buying for 19 or actually 20 people, because you would be buying for your parents and all your siblings.
Yeah.
that's still going to be expensive.
It was a lot.
What's the most you've ever spent on gifts for your family?
Okay, so that's the thing where I didn't spend a ton. I would just like try to get something that was thoughtful. And I feel like that was probably only, I don't remember when we started doing the drawing names thing. We had at least 14 kids when we were still doing the dollar store thing. Or like, you could buy something for your buddies. But I just remember, I don't know how many years that lasted. My memory's not quite pulling it up right now. But when we switched to drawing names, I think that changed the game for us, where no longer was it like, it wasn't like as difficult. And then also you get nicer gifts. So my parents would always spend more on us. Like they would always get us like a really nice gift, or a couple gifts actually, like per kid. And they were the ones who would spend more money on it, or grandma and grandpa, they would do that too.
Gosh, I wonder what that bill looks like.
Oh my word. I don't even know. I don't even want to know. But yeah, grandma and grandpa would for sure spend money on us too. My parents. And then I feel like with all the siblings, we just realized like it was not going to be able to continue like that.
If you're depressed about how much money you spend on gifts this holiday, just think of Mr. and Mrs. Duggar buying all their kids gifts.
And now all the grandkids, if they want to do that for the grandkids.
The grandkids.
They're so sweet about how they give gifts. So like even for birthdays, they're always sending birthday gifts, and Walmart grocery deliveries with like all the kids' favorite snacks and foods to the door on their birthday.
Do we buy everybody a T-shirt for Christmas, or get a new car? That's like the option.
So I think with all of those gifts, like, you would look around the living room and it would be fun. There are just like piles of gifts everywhere. Like you go find your section and like find, what you had there, not knowing. Yeah. But I think some of my siblings, like we usually had a limit. So this is how we started doing it. We would like put everybody's names in a drawing, but it was like by all the older girls, like in-laws, whatever, mom, grandma. If there were any aunts and uncles that happened to be joining us, they could also be put in there if they wanted to. But all the older girls from like, I don't even know how old, maybe like 12 up or something, they were in the older kids section. And then it was like all the older boys, and then all the kids, grandkids, younger siblings, like they were all in one drawing. And so boys and girls mixed, and they would all buy for each other. So when we switched to that, it was really good because then they had just less money. Like you're not putting out so much where it's just, I don't know, it's too much. Like it's too stressful. Okay. And then they had a limit too on how much you could spend. But some people, let me just throw this out there. Some people would buy the best gifts. And so you'd almost want them to get your name. They would spend they would get like something exorbitant for you. Go over like a $300 gift, John.
That's crazy.
I'm just going to call John out right now. He's
That's
good.
Crazy. John, what a guy. Someone told me this the other day, and I think this would be a great idea for people who are struggling financially but want to give gifts to their kids, is getting some of the toys and things that people would actually want. So not like junk that you'd throw out otherwise. But downsizing some of your toys, some of the things your kids have, getting them together, and then going on OfferUp or Facebook Marketplace and listing them for free. And then finding a neutral location if you don't want people coming to your house to meet up with someone to give them away. And I think that could be a really incredible way to bless others who, it's a couple days till Christmas.
Yeah.
They don't have gifts for their kids. Well, imagine, if you were in a pinch financially, you obviously want it to be a special morning for your kids, and a neighbor of yours or someone says, hey, take these. We've got more than we need.
That's be really special. Cool. Yeah, that's such a good idea. I love it.
I think we'll do that.
We need to, actually, because I think that there are some things your kids will play with a lot of toys, but then there are other things that sit there and you're like, okay, this could be like something we could pass on and like give to somebody else.
Your kid gets minimal enjoyment from it, or you give it to another child who it makes their day really special.
I love it.
And I had never thought of that. And that person shared, just give them away on OfferUp or whatever marketplace. And I thought, what a brilliant idea. And people come snatch it up.
I love it.
And
How
it
was
makes
Christmas?
that morning for you.
Yeah. And how was Christmas for you guys? Like, what were your traditions that you guys did, and anything fun out of the ordinary as kids? What do you remember Christmas morning being like?
Yeah, Christmas. My mom would always make Polish sausage
Yes.
for breakfast with horseradish, and it was an incredible breakfast. But that would be after the gifts, and obviously,
We have to talk about that sausage for 1 second. We need to pause and talk about it. Tell us about how she would secure the sausage.
oh well, the Polish neighborhood in Delaware. She would go down, right?
Yeah.
Is this the story? And she would go to this little grocery store and secure Polish sausage.
But it was not a safe area. She
Oh,
said
no.
that it was so unsafe
Yeah, but it was worth it for the.
that she went to get it like
Yeah.
every year, but then at some point she realized it was just
It wasn't. It
it
wasn't
wasn't
smart.
safe, I think, and maybe even the store was closed down because
My mom
something
risked
happened
her
there.
life for Christmas morning.
Yeah, I think that was the story that I remember.
But so I've got some Polish in me because of my grandmother and my grandfather, and so on my mom's side, and so yeah, that's a little part of our heritage that we enjoy every year. But before that, I've only got a brother and sister who are both older than me, and so there's the three of us, and so we always had a very orderly Christmas morning. We'd wait at the top of the stairs. My dad would pray. He'd read the Christmas story. We'd go down very early. And
Like when it was still dark.
oh yeah, still dark. Because we'd wake up and,
Yeah, you can't
bother our
wait.
parents endlessly. But oftentimes my dad would be finishing wrapping downstairs, so you'd hear him wrapping. And it was special. We'd go down, turn the Christmas lights on. You see all the gifts, just like you described. You see all the gifts everywhere. And there is something magical and wonder-filled about that moment. And then I do remember going, gift by gift. And the most exciting part was either giving gifts to your siblings or to your parents. And then my dad and mom would always, well, not always. I don't know if it was every year, but I remember some years distinctly where they would hide a gift for all of us.
Oh, really? Like
so-
one group gift or something?
Yeah, like a group gift. And
That's
we would
so fun.
totally
Destroy the house.
no,
Looking for it.
like I was gonna say, like the gift, like would be Razor scooters or something,
Yeah,
and then they'd say, okay, there's one more, you gotta look for it. We'd go, where is it?
that's so fun.
And we'd always forget about our stockings.
Yeah,
And so the stocking was a fun thing to find, and you go over and there's a bunch of candy and stuff.
that's so fun.
So yeah, it was magical. It was, the gift giving was a fun, but we never got carried away where it was like, oh yeah, mom and dad are maxing out the credit card.
Yep.
Or, being irresponsible because, we've got to have the best of whatever.
Oh, yeah, totally.
It was the spirit of generosity,
Yep.
which I think is part of Christmas. I know is part of Christmas.
Yeah.
Because God so loved the world that he gave.
Mm-hmm.
And so we should give. Oh, and here's what I told the college students. There are more ways to be generous than just financial. And around Christmas, especially if someone's not got opportunity to buy a million gifts for everybody, you can still be generous. And honestly, there's a more impactful generosity that can happen around Christmas when you're around family, when you're around people who maybe aren't around you all the time. Maybe they're lonely. Maybe they don't get to see their grandkids often, or they don't have friends over often, and Christmas holidays bringing you together. You can be generous in your time. You can also be generous in your affection. Like genuinely sitting down and looking someone in the eye and asking them, hey, how have you been? And listening to stories from their year, not being distracted by your phone, not having 1,000 things going on. That's a form of generosity by saying, I'm going to give of my time, my energy, my affection to make this a special occasion and to genuinely care about other people. And that is what the Christmas season is about.
I love it. Yeah, that's so helpful, babe, because I think that there are so many times where, I remember there were years where, things were tight and it really made you appreciate any little thing that you had. And even if it wasn't like an extravagant Christmas, it was like, it didn't matter. Like it was the heart and the people you were with. And so I think that's important to remember, because there will be seasons where you're able to do more, give more, like even, we look at that like with money or something, but then there are other seasons where you just can't. And I think that's such a good reminder for all of us, just to think about the things, even if you have more to give. Like money doesn't fix things. It's not like
No.
money's not the answer. And so, yeah, I think like just taking that time, no matter where you are, no matter what season you're in, just like listen and love and be there with your loved ones and friends.
Yeah. The other reminder I gave to the college students was of gratitude, because then you think about the gifts and you think about like, what's our response to the gifts?
Yeah.
And it should be one of gratitude. And I just think, God did not have to send his son into the world. He could have left us in our sin, but Jesus volunteered himself and said, I'm going to go, I'm going to rescue them. And the only response appropriate is gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
Like, thank you for this. And thank you for giving us a reason to celebrate.
Yeah.
There's something about Christmas that's like hope and inspiring, when all the darkness of the world kind of keeps our attention all year, where we're just at the forefront of our mind is the brokenness, whether, it's a school shooting, whether it's the violence in the Middle East, whether it's family conflict, headlines, political stuff. And there's something about Christmas where there's this buzz in the air, this hope in the air, where you go to a Christmas parade or you go look at lights, and there is a spirit in the air of like joy and excitement. And, you see all the cheesy Christmas movies.
Yeah.
But part of that, I think, is something that even for people who aren't celebrating Jesus, they can't suppress. There is this sense of this deep longing to give thanks. And especially for Christians, thinking Jesus entered the world to save us. John the Baptist announced Jesus coming as, behold, the Lamb of God who takes away the sins of the world. And so we have this gratitude that fills our souls in this season.
Yeah, for sure. And I love that. And I think something else that was coming to mind as we're talking about that too is like in the same vein and like heart of like generosity and giving. I loved how we as like a family were able to go to Central America over Christmas time, like usually right before Christmas, which you went on one trip, right?
Yeah, to get my girl.
That was it. I couldn't remember if it was two, but yeah, I remember you went on that one trip and got to see kind of what went on in Central America, but also kind of like starting off our Christmas season, we would always go down there and like see people in such poverty. But the cool thing was just seeing how grateful they were for anything. When you go into a place where they are so full of joy, like the church that we would go to, there were native pastor and his family, and they would always host us. And we would go there every year and like see the families and like meet with the kids. And every time you went there, they were just so happy and so joyful, and living in dirt floors, not knowing, a lot of them, where their next meal was going to come from, very hardworking. But it was just something that I loved every year that we got to do as a family, because when you're going into the Christmas season, it's so easy to forget about just the basic things that God has given you, and even just knowing the gospel and being able to go and share the gospel and to share what you have with others, and just to share your time and the love of Christ, showing that even though there's a language barrier. It was just the sweetest thing. So I loved December's starting off like that, because it really set your heart where you want it to be, and not like that's just a one-time thing. But the cool part was looking at all that you bring to these kids. You're in their environment, stepping into their world, and just seeing like they're so content with very little and joyful. And here we can go back and say like, okay, well, we have so much and we're so discontent. And like, we don't want that to be that's not our only takeaway from that time. But I think going back year after year was so cool, because you got to see those kids grow up, see their families, and just how they were loving Jesus, being faithful where God had called them to be. And they challenged and inspired us as much as we, were able to, like, even the little bits we were able to give to them. Right. And I think just, even if it's not like a missions trip, but just something where it's eye-opening for kids, because I was young when we first went to Central America. I can't remember how old, but like I felt pretty young, maybe 12, I don't know. But at that age where you can just quickly become so self-centered and like focused on getting everything that you want and need, like I was really thankful for that opportunity to go and to have others focused and to realize like, okay, the world does not revolve around you. I think that's something that like we can quickly feel, you know, as young people, and especially in that season of life.
Yeah.
And the older we get, just keeping that, like missions are so helpful to like open your eyes to the needs around the world in other believers' lives, but then also just to see how they're being faithful and giving to their communities in this Christmas season. And so that's something that was just really beautiful to see. And I think that you and I both experienced like so many things. We've talked about missions before on here, but yeah, recently we were able to start supporting another like little girl from the
Peru.
Compassion.
Yeah.
Yes, but through Compassion. And I think that that's something that any of those little touch points where you're able to talk to your kids about it, or to like just show them that, like, I think we can just be so focused on what we have here in the United States, all the things we are getting and all of our traditions, but then realizing like that doesn't make our holiday. Like when you have the perfect, you know, everything set up and like perfect gifts for your kids, the perfect ambiance, like those are all gifts that we don't want to like reject, because God's given those to us here and we're thankful for it. But we also want to make sure that we don't forget about others around us too.
Right.
So I was just thinking about how I was really grateful for December starting off like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's a season to reflect on those things and to be reminded and recalibrated. And thinking of another reminder is we need to remember that this is a season of grace.
Mm-hmm.
This is a season where Jesus Christ came into the world to turn enemies into friends. And it's interesting to think about Christmas through the lens of Jesus' enemies. Herod committed genocide against Hebrew children because he wanted to kill Christ, this king that was being proclaimed as the Christ. And so not everyone was excited about the incarnation or Jesus coming to earth. In fact, there's a lot of bloodshed and hatred around the season. And so we can often look at people who are, you know, anti-Christmas or anti-Christian or something and have resentment against them or bitterness. Well, no, Christmas should remind us that Jesus came to save. I did not come to judge, he says. I came to save. And Christmas is a reminder of grace. And so even as we're around people in our families maybe who don't love Jesus, we're not resentful. We're not jerks. We're not standoffish. We're not fighting Christmas from a political angle. No. Jesus came to turn enemies into friends. And at one time, we were enemies of Jesus. At one time, we were not impressed by him. We didn't see him as glorious or beautiful or impressive. And then our eyes were opened to behold the glory of God in the face of Jesus Christ. And we became friends of Christ. And so that's a really beautiful, that's what the season's about, is grace. And so if we go into our Christmas celebrations kind of recalibrated, thinking about generosity, thinking of ways we can be generous, thinking of gratitude, understanding, you know, gratitude is really the antidote to sin. If you're angry, you're not grateful. If you're bitter, you're not grateful. If you're discontent, you're not grateful for what you have, you know? And so thinking this is a season to be grateful, for gratitude. And it's a season for grace too, to extend the grace that's been shown to us to others.
I love that.
And then to enjoy Christmas.
Yeah.
Enjoy
Enjoy
eggnog.
it. Enjoy those things, the
Cookies.
gifts that God's given you and the people who you're around.
Yeah.
It's so fun. Yeah.
I personally can't wait for Christmas morning. I am going to drink more eggnog than I should.
You love eggnog.
So talking about what we do.
You love it.
What we do on Christmas as my family, it was like the morning rush.
Yeah.
And you'd eat a bunch, you'd have a big breakfast, you do all your toys. And then the rest of the day was trying to figure out how to put that toy together.
Yes.
Or going outside and playing with your new toy as a kid or whatever. And it was kind of like this lull. Then I think there's soccer on Christmas morning. Oh, no, on Boxing Day. And there's some games on Christmas Day too. Anyway, then it's the afternoon is kind of like a coma, you know, where
Yeah.
you're in a food coma, you got your gifts,
Yep.
your parents sleep on the couch, you know, and
Yep.
you're over there playing. So yours was maybe a little different. It was probably just chaos all day.
Yeah. Just loud, just fun.
Loud
Lots of
chaos.
people in and out.
Yeah.
Aunts and uncles who would just come like later in the day. They would come in the afternoon, so it kept the party going.
Oh yeah.
You know, just never stopped.
Oh yeah.
Just never stopped.
It's a lot
So
of fun.
fun.
Christmas is a sweet season. I'm excited to celebrate Christmas with our little girls and our little baby on the way. That's something I'm definitely grateful for, is that little baby.
Yeah.
And that's a good gift. And we're headed to Arkansas tomorrow.
We
So
are.
at the time
You're
of this
gonna make
recording,
me cry. You're going to make me cry. I can't.
so before this releases, we'll head to Arkansas for a few days.
I have to say, Jeremy is the best. And I'm going to cry because, yeah, we weren't sure if we were going to be able to make it back to Arkansas. And he scheduled flights for us and surprised me. Because I was just like, we need to go back. But I didn't think it was going to happen. And he made it happen. And so I'm super excited.
Are those happy tears?
Very happy tears. Yeah. I'm still in shock and just super excited because we leave tomorrow morning to go see my family.
Well, it's your birthday and it's Christmas, so it's
Yeah.
time for giving.
Both. It's so
It'll
sweet.
be fun.
Thank you, babe.
Well, no, it'll be a fun trip. I'm excited to
I
see them.
cannot wait. It's going to be a blast.
It'll be
It's
good.
going to be the best gift.
Well, Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas.
Ginger,
I'm going to stop crying.
Tearful Ginger over here.
I'm
These
just so excited. I
these are
cannot
tears of
believe
joy.
it. Yeah, I can't believe it. And it's pregnant Ginger over here. I feel like I need a box of tissues next to me because I feel like I keep crying about.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and
Every
the studio.
episode.
The studio's almost done. It's just missing a few accessories and tissues.
Yep.
So
Maybe that's
we'll
why I
get
need to go
those.
buy a box of tissues after this. That way it's
Yeah.
like here for next time.
Well, we hope everyone has a very Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, guys.
Enjoy the season. Enjoy the celebrations over Jesus, our Savior, and goodness, we'll see you in the new year.
See ya.
Bye.